Hello, family. How are we doing today? Man, so much going on this side of the camera. Lord. How y'all doing, first of all? I'm gonna give folks a moment, but, first of all, happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. I hope you're all well. Welcome back to another episode of Vuta Stool Saturday, aka your weekends with Winnie O. How you doing? And first of all, I appreciate y'all for my committed Vuta Stool followers, my committed weekenders with Winnie O people. I appreciate y'all. For all of you who do join me on these weekend pop-ups for the lives, whether that's on a Saturday or on a Sunday, I really appreciate you guys. It's always nice to have this interaction, especially, being that we're all pretty much, well, most of us, right? Ideally, should be social distancing and quarantining. I had a little snafu. So the thing is, I usually have like my drinky drinks to the side out here. I got my juice and my water. And what happened was I bent down to pick up something, whatever. I was doing stuff here. And one of my braids went in there and it was like made my whole dress wet. So I had to go change. But that's a whole other story. Thankfully it didn't drop in my smoothie because that would have been not fun. But yeah. So that's a little backdrop. But otherwise, I actually, really like these sessions. And it's always nice to see who pops up. There's always a surprise randomly. But I appreciate y'all. And if you happen to see this after a Saturday, after the weekend, and if it resonates with you, if you think it would be beneficial for somebody else to watch, be sure to like, share, stay connected. I really enjoy the new friends that I have gathered along the way. So I appreciate you new friends, and I appreciate you existing friends as well. Every platform, it's, people will be like, oh my God, I hate social media, or other people are like, I love social media. It's all in how you use it, right? And hopefully, we do not abuse the platforms that we have, and we don't abuse the relationships that we are given. So PSA. So let's get right into it. For those of you who caught my announcement for Vuta Stool discussions today, man, a lot has happened this week. A lot has been happening in the recent days. It's crazy. Yes, these are a repeat. I love them. I thought they went well with the outfit, so I know. Anywho. Yeah. So, man, did you guys catch that story about the woman? I believe it's in Texas. It's in San Antonio or something, Texas, where the teacher, she teaches at a charter school. Apparently this woman got fired for having her mask that had printing on it, and the wording on it, pretty much stated Black Lives Matter. And, apparently it was a dress code violation that they had asked her to change her mask several times. And because she chose to stand her ground, and that is absolutely her right. She's absolutely, that is her option. That is her conviction to do that. And I actually support her for that. But, that's neither here nor there. So they ended up firing her because she refused to, quote unquote, comply with their uniform policy. And on the one hand, I'm like, I do love uniforms. I grew up when I was back home when I was a kid. I grew up going to uniform school. schools that wore uniforms. And personally, I loved it because that means I didn't have to think about what to wear every day. And even as an adult now, like I pretty much feel like when I used to have to go in the office, I pretty much had a set rotation of professional clothing. Okay, I have my everyday, my regular weather gear, and I had my summer gear rotation. Like, cause I can't be bothered to be sitting there picking and choosing outfits every day. No. I know my monthly rotation. Okay, I could tell it. But ever since we were in quarantine, now my work gear has slightly changed. And let's be honest, most of us, our stay-at-home work as you are gear is quite different. But I'm mad at it. Be comfortable. Like, my home office is definitely a much better commute. But anywho, back to the story. So this woman apparently was fired from the San Antonio school, and I believe it was called the puns write themselves, Great Hearts Charter School. So when I did a little bit of digging, you know me, how you doing? I did a little digging, and it turns out it's they call it, I guess they teach using like a classical format, which is something borrowed from like some Greek educational system or something. And so I was like looking through all their information, and pretty much they're like, oh, they don't do like any pop culture stuff. So first I was like, okay, so the implication is that you think that statement is a pop culture reference. Black Lives Matter. At first they're like, oh, Black Lives Matter. Well, we don't have any pop culture reference. Okay, so people who are simply trying to live, that's a pop culture reference. All right. And then say, well, actually, we don't do political statements. I understand that there are people who may think Black Lives Mattering is a political statement, when honestly, at the end of the day, it is a human rights statement. Sure, you may disagree with some of the ideologies of the founders. I mean, sure, for those of you who agree with all the ideologies of the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement, let's be honest, there's also so many other things in life that we may not wholeheartedly agree with the Bible, but people still, go ahead and overall, if you agree with the overall message, the overall intention of the message, it's the intention. And for me, I try to be very mindful of the intention of a thing, right? Making sure that, you don't quickly judge or discredit something without understanding the intention behind it. And so for them to say that, the infraction was, the issue was not that the woman had a mask or that the mask was colorful. It was because the mask had those particular wordings on it. And it was, their thinking was, oh, it's pop culture, it's, it's distracting. Yeah. Wanting to stay alive is distracting. And they didn't want to politicize things. I was like, but don't educational systems teach politics? We have to be able to understand and converse regarding, not only historical, but current politics and policies. No? And so for me, I was like, okay, fine. So even if she would have taken out, I think if anything, I'm like, did y'all really have the full conversation of if she could not wear the mask, on site? Did y'all have the conversation prior to firing her, or rather backing her to quit, however it may have gone through? Did they give her then the option of saying, okay, you can teach this content within the classroom, even if you take out your mask? If the intention is to educate folks on this particular issue, that yes, honestly, we as Black people, we have been talking about it for ages. This is not new for us. Okay, I understand there are people who this is a new topic for them, but for those of us who have been directly affected, this is nothing new. We've been talking about it. Just because you might be late to the party doesn't mean, it's new for us. And we understand that it has always been an issue. And for some people now to be like, oh, we don't need to focus on it because it's always been an issue. And I'm like, that's even more reason to highlight it in this new season with a changing context and focus on it, to say something, to speak out on it. And, I don't like to bash people for, I call it out. I'm like, I still would like to know, why didn't it matter to you before? I'll ask that question. And I will still welcome the support for those who choose to be supportive in the environment. But anywho, so yeah, they're going to cover it as, infraction of school policy for dress code. But let's be honest, when it comes to the educational system, a lot goes undiscussed. It's more often, let's be honest, the educational system has failed not only the marginalized demographics, but even dominant culture folks, because they then don't get to truly know and learn the true story, people's true history, people's true excellence, people's true abilities and historical context to help be more cognizant of what's going on today. Okay? And for those who work in these environments and still spew statements such as, oh no, I'm not racist, I don't see color. Family. How do you not see color? I'm wearing blue today. I got some gold trinkets in my hair. I got a nice little red lip. I got green nail polish. Don't look too close. I cut my nails. Do not see the different in gradation. One side of my hand does not look the same color as the other side. I'm like, so what part of it really is it that you don't see? Is it, I would understand if somebody's like, no, legit, I'm colorblind. I'm like, okay, that's different. But then we can talk about that. But for you to sit there and be like, oh no, I can't be racist, I don't see color. I side eye y'all. Heavy. Anywho. Or, oh no, I do not believe in implicit bias. No, that doesn't happen. I'm like, fam, I'm not one to call people stupid. I might call out the ignorance in the person, because to me, then that is a willful ignorance. I'm not saying you are ignorant. I'm not saying you are a fool. I'm not saying you're stupid. But I'm saying it is a reflection of your decision to continue to bask in your ignorance. That is the issue that I then would kind of take note on and pause and be like, okay, this person definitely got some suspect ideologies. But such is life, right? It's tough. It's this whole idea of people politicizing something that is a simple request to life, it's a human right. It's a human desire to simply want to live and to thrive and to be successful and to be safe, right? Everybody wants to be safe. And we can't pick and choose who ideally should get to be safe. We all want to be safe. We all want to be treated fairly and, in a kind and loving manner. And even when we may disagree, we can disagree, and I could call out the BS in your ideological thinking and still recognize that you're still a human who deserves to live without worrying every single day for their life. Whether that's here in America, that's in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, wherever. It's important that we That we give people the right to simply live at the very least. Sorry. Anywho, so I won't belabor that point too much. Anywho, then we come through this mess that happened a couple of days ago of this so-called presidential debate. Ooh, child, honey. That, I guess on the one hand, we expected it. We expected the orange monster, the Cheeto monster, to behave exactly as he did. We definitely expected that. And just the levels of low that person stooped to, man, like that was the part that I was like, oh, I mean, I knew we were familiar with how this person behaves and what his character has shown thus far, but man, like that comment about his opponent's son, I was like, sir, that was no bueno. That was foul. That was foul. Yeah, like just kept on interrupting like a freaking spoiled toddler. I'm like, I would actually, you know what? I would rather have conversation with my toddler nephews and nieces, because for some reason, actually, they are better listeners. Like once you get their attention, they're better listeners than that. I'll be honest. That's why I love hanging out with them when I do outside of COVID. Yeah, and I was like, whose man's is this? I was like, Melly, where you at? Come collect your light work, cause it's running amok. Yeah. So, and also, I was so glad in how Biden responded in love and reassuring his son that he was like, you know what, this idiot doesn't know anything about you. Like, I still love you. I still care for you. I got your back. And I was like, yes, that is how you respond to that kind of foolery. Okay? Because let's be honest, a lot of you out here who are like, oh no, you know, don't wish this Cheeto monster ill. Don't wish him da-da-da-da. I was like, a lot of y'all were the ones celebrating when he was throwing all those low jabs. Let's be real. I'm not going to ask y'all to raise your hand or whatever, but I'm like, let's be honest. A lot of you guys, a lot of his base was definitely celebrating those uncouth moments. But now that, you know, it seems like the tables have kind of turned. They're like, oh my God, no, like, oh, what are we gonna do? We are so helpless. Remember, he's so helpless. I'm like, fam, I'll address that in a moment. Anywho, you know, and then for this monster to give the racists and racist sympathizers marching orders: stand back, stand by. That's very different than stand down. Those are very different orders. To stand back and stand by versus to stand down, very different. And we know that. We peep your game, sir. We peep your game. And the truth is, they didn't really need much, you know, pushing into that direction, because let's be honest, ever since he got elected, before he even got into office, from the moment that he got elected, and even before he got elected, he ran his campaign on fear-mongering and bigotry and hatred. Those are just facts. It's not my opinion. It's not about any kind of feelings I may or may not have towards this person. It's basic facts. This person ran on fear-mongering and continues to do so on bigotry and hatred and racism. And you wonder why your country that apparently you're supposed to be leading, you wonder why it's broken, like, and it's in such a state. Iyanla Vanzant, one of the quotes that Sister Iyanla Vanzant stated in one of her episode was, "The fish rots from the head." Well, Mr. Commander, This fish is definitely rotting from the head. Mm-hmm. And that's that. Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, this is not just about one person. It's not just about him, the individual, right? It's about the leadership and those who he keeps around him for accountability or lack thereof. If you look at the people he surrounds himself with, it's very telling of why he behaves the way he does, right? It's sad. It's disheartening oftentimes. Man, like sometimes I'm like, I really like wake up and I'm thinking, there is no way America voted for this. But then again, the more I think of it, I'm like, nah, America voted for exactly the person they wanted. And if you voted for that person, it says also a lot about you and what your ideology and what your thinking is. Especially if you have people that you say that you love who are even more affected by the repercussions of the overall decisions that have been made. Which is why I'm going to jump in a quick PSA moment here. Please, my people, learn to get involved in your local elections. It is so important. It's to me, I'm like, it's even more important than these big elections for the president. No, right? Because if you look at the prior leadership, right, President Obama could hardly pass anything, through Senate and Congress because they kept on blocking him. Right? Whereas this current one is always like, oh, Obama can do this, he can do that, he can do that. But I'm like, look at what he had to work with. And he also, in addition, faced other, kind of restrictions. But at the end of the day, vote in your local elections, please. If we really want, to see changes, make sure you're participating in your local elections. It is so important. It is so, wherever you are in the world, please, be more cognizant of your local leadership as well as your national governance. But your local leadership matters just as much because that's what affects the policies in your community right where you live. So that's my quick PSA moment. Also, another PSA, my fellow melanated people. I'm talking to Americans here, right? Because I'm gonna reference a policy that is relevant to here in the U.S. Gun ownership. If you're eligible to, make sure you take gun safety lessons. Learn how to protect yourselves, because clearly nobody's coming to save us. That's the reality. Nobody's coming to save us. So arm up, protect yourselves, because clearly Trump folks are very comfortable doing that. They're very comfortable doing that and using it to infringe on other people's lives and right to life and liberty and freedom and well-being. So take the necessary classes if you must. And I am actually glad to see a lot of classes pop up to like help women, especially sister girls, our fellow sisters, to get more comfortable with, handling a firearm, making sure that you are handling it safely. Safety first, always. Safety first, especially when you're handling something that could, cause great harm to another. Safety first. Even though for some reason those who are employed and it's part of their job to handle such things don't seem to know how to use them in a safe manner. We see you. I know we're talking about really heavy topics this week because it's been a heavy week, fam. It's been heavy. It's been, ugh. Eek. Yeah. Yeah. So get out and vote. Get legally armed. Protect yourself. Protect your loved ones. Also, speaking of arming and protecting your loved ones, let's be honest. You know, the law doesn't seem to really cover Black people the way it does dominant culture, right? Philando Castile, he was legally armed. He had all the necessary paperwork, you know, gave clear, you know, instruction and guidance of, hey, this is what I have in my car. Warned the officer, told him this is what's going on, and he still got shot. And the NRA was nowhere to cover for him to say, hey, hold up, this is a person who is doing what we are asking people to do, and you still shot him. The NRA should have been the first people like, nah, fam, this is not cool. This is not cool. But where are they? Anytime it's a Black person involved, they are quiet AF. Quiet. Domo cavu. Dry mouth. Yeah. Hawana chochote la kusema. Yeah, oh yeah. It is Vuta Stool Saturday. You're definitely gonna get your Swanglish on, my people. You guys gonna learn some Swahili words by the time you're done with me. Yeah. So. Because even our sister Breonna Taylor, bam, right? Her boyfriend was protecting her. And they try to frame him, to try to use him to frame her. And so in this recent press release from that AG, where he kept on saying that the police were justified in their actions. If they were justified in their actions, sir, Mr. Attorney General, why the crap did you actually pay out that settlement? If they were justified in shooting and killing Breonna Taylor, why would you pay out her family restitution for her death? I mean, and I realize that's the thing. Like, oftentimes, I think also one of the issues as to why people end up having a lack of understanding in these proceedings is because the data is not actually presented in a way that makes it easy for folks to understand. It's like they don't really want people to understand what's going on. And, you know, because he said, oh, he was justified in not presenting the murder charges. He was like, it did not apply. I'm like, well, it would be nice if you explained to people why it was okay for you to leave those charges out, that particular charge category out. Maybe you might get a bit more understanding from folks, but that's not for me to say. Can't speak for everybody. Can only speak for myself. Yeah, you know. You know, so at the end of the day, man, it's rough. And then the fact that this crazy man in charge, Mr. Orange, he keeps like arguing about, oh, voting, oh, you know, he doesn't want mailing fraud. And it's like this dude cannot help himself but lie. He lies on stuff like people can go and fact check. I can't with him. I can't. We can't. Yeah. I can't. Also, with all these campaign stuff, with these candidates asking for funding. It's just my personal opinion. This is my personal opinion. I'm not saying it's not everybody's opinion. It's mine. And I'm going to say it. Because this is my Buddha stool. This is my Weekends with Winnie O. And welcome. I feel like there should be a cap on how much people spend on these advertisements and stuff. I really feel like there should be a cap to make it like more equitable between, people who have a lot of money and people who don't really have a lot of money. Especially like, let's say, newcomers to the game. They can't spend as much as a Warren Buffett or a Trump or any of these other people. So, it would be nice if there was some sort of capacity limit, but who knows? I feel like that would be fair, right? No? Yes, no, maybe? Respond in the comments. And so now, given the debate situation that happened, and then now for it to come out that the Cheeto Monster has COVID, I was like, hold up. Didn't he say COVID is a hoax and it's not real? And still believes that and continues to perpetuate that thinking at his rallies where people show up with no masks. And for them to tell us that he was instructed to wear a mask during the debates, and he and his family, he put his family in danger because of his ego. Ego. That's really what it is. Because of this man's fragile ego, he put his family's lives in danger. So, oh my God, let me think of that. Yes. So if he's willing to do that with his own blood family, how much do you think he cares about the rest of y'all? How much do you think he cares about the rest of us? He doesn't care enough to protect his own blood family. You think he cares about us? Damn. You got another thing coming there. That's the truth. And it's funny because now people are like, oh my God, don't talk ill about him. I'm like, I was like, weren't you the same people who every time a black person gets shot unlawfully, really, by these thug police or whomever, you guys are the ones to always say, oh, this is a comment I'm seeing a lot in this comment section. Yes, I am one of those people. I may not comment often. There are certain people I will comment on. But I'm like, listen, I'm in the comment reading committee. That's what I do. So what I've seen often is the statement, if play stupid games, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And that, to me, I was like, ain't this the same person who's been singing how COVID is a hoax, it's not real, it doesn't exist, da-da-da-da. Yet all of a sudden, he believes he has it. I don't know if he's going to take his Clorox shot, his bleach shots. I don't know. Apparently he was taking the hydroxychloroquine and stuff. Maybe that's what's working for him. But let's think about it. Let's note that he will absolutely end up getting the very best top-notch care because of his position. That's some privilege, ain't it? While he has been very nonchalant about all the many lives that have been lost throughout this COVID experience. He didn't care. He was like, oh, it's not that many people. I'm like, well, even one life lost, that matters to somebody. That matters to the people who love and care about that person. Whether we know them or not, it matters. So now that it's his life, y'all want us to be all extra emotional and, beset? Nah, fam, nah. To me, I'm just like, listen. First of all, I'm like, dude is forever lying. Lying. Like, so we don't even know if it's true or not. We don't know. I want to see that proof. Remember when he insisted on seeing other people's birth certificates, yet he could barely produce his own tax returns? Okay. Now he's like, oh, I have COVID. But mind you, also, he was the same person who says, oh, you know, sorry, excuse me. He's like, I don't support any rule changes for the next debate. Oh, no, I will not stand for it. I was like, if anything, I'm like, this is a ploy. This a ploy to not show up for the next debates. Let's be honest, because he doesn't want to. Because he sees how horrible it went because of him and his behavior or misbehavior, really. You know, all I kept on thinking was like, if he was an African, you know, the African mother would be like, I see you have COVID now. Oh, my got COVID. Did I have your mask? Literally, I'm just saying, like, y'all know my people with immigrant parents, not non-white, not American parents. Y'all know, you guys know how our parents are, especially, you know, we love our moms, but you know how sarcastic they can be. Even my sister, I do it. I find myself doing it. Like, I've definitely done that to like my siblings. I'm like, oh, am I your mask? Did I take it? No, but don't worry. I know what you're waiting. You're waiting for me to go harvest the cotton so I can put it together for you, so I can sew it by hand and come put it on your face. That's what you're waiting for. Yeah, I love my African people. Immigrants have the most sarcastic moms ever. Oh my god. It must be the melanin. I really think it is. Melanin, like, be making parents just act some special type of way. But you gotta love them. You gotta love them. I love it. You know? And yeah, so again, once again, for y'all people who are like, oh no, don't rejoice in his whatever misfortune. I'm like, this was not an accident. We knew it was only a matter of when. Of when. Not if. It was when. Because this person insists on being unsafe. Insists on negating at every turn when he's asked to be safe. So for me, I was like, I knew it was like gonna be a when situation, not an if. But you know, and for those of you who are like out here all vexed about, oh, you know, how certain people may be responding to this, me, I'm like, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to me, honestly. I'm like, I don't have time to waste energy on negativity. Apana. Not me, oh. I do not wish him, you know, the opposite of living, but I also do not care. I do not wish him well particularly either, because I'm just like, I wish him better brain cells. If anything, I feel bad for the COVID inside that man's body. I feel my condolences to the COVID virus, because that is a toxic environment. That is a toxic environment that I would not wish on my, you know, worst enemy, and at the moment it's COVID. So yeah, okay. Yeah, so for all of y'all, okay, and this is an excerpt. Somebody, I'm kind of collecting snippets here from a post from one of my connections on the Book of Faces, where she's writing this. I'll put her reference when I get it. She was asking about how, because for me, I was thinking, oh, but aren't y'all the same people who were rejoicing when Gaddafi was killed by this government? You guys, the same people who are rejoicing when those immigrants are caught at the borders and separated. They're separating the children. You guys are, y'all the same people who are rejoicing. Like, yeah, they should come here legally. They should do it out. I was like, y'all the same people rejoicing for families being torn apart, for children being traumatized, and to the point where, you know, sometimes they're reuniting these, you know, children and they can't even recognize their parents or their family members. But y'all rejoiced on that one, okay? You guys were the same ones rejoicing when Hillary got sick, when Biden, you know, like when he brought up that incident about his son. Y'all rejoiced at every turn when this monster, you know, speaks so horribly about people in tough situations. Y'all the same people who laugh off when he made fun of the disabled person during his campaign. Y'all laughed at that. And you said, and you're like, oh, he's just joking. And every time when he does these despicable things to other people, y'all laugh it off. And you say, oh, he was just joking, it wasn't serious, whatever. Well, you know what? Do the same thing. I may not condone it, but I will call out the hypocrisy in it. I will call it out. Do the same thing. Ignore it and just laugh it off as, you know what, these people, I know they're joking. They're just joking. Really, honestly, like, I don't think anyone really, well, I can't speak for anybody else, so nah, let me refrain from that. But they're just joking. It's just jokes. Ha ha. Take it as that, because that's what you expect people to treat him as a joke, right? Because pretty much that's what he is. Yeah. And so I was just thinking about this yesterday, actually, and how people keep calling him a clown, you know. And I have to admit, I've probably said it at least once. I was like, this clown is a mess. And then I realized something, okay, that I have to acknowledge here, okay, on behalf of everybody who's called this person a clown. I realize that it is honestly an insult. It's by far one of the worst insults you could ever call somebody who's an actual clown. Because that is very misrepresenting of professional clowns, and they don't deserve that. So to all the professional clowns out there, I'm sorry that this person has put your profession in such a category. You do not deserve it. Yeah, y'all deserve better than that. Yeah. So, and I'm very serious. Clowns don't deserve that. Right? So, from this person's behavior policies, and then like boasting on the fact that he has assigned so many judges and stuff. I'm like, sir, do you know, if it was possible under the last administration, if the leadership under the last administration was not being blocked at every turn, they would have assigned those seats. But these games that people be playing, these games that folks in power play, my fellow citizens, my fellow community folks, wake up and open your eyes and see the reality that it is not just him who's the problem. It is the systems that perpetuate his ideologies and the support that he gets, whether that's from Senate or you know, Congress. Those seats, those people who support him in his craziness are just as culpable. His accountability partners, the people who hold him up in these problematic thinkings and problematic designations, they are just as culpable. Which is why I said before, vote in your local elections. Please, 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 please get involved in your local elections. If you don't like what you're seeing, get out there and change it. Every 2 years, get out there and change it. All right. So, also RIP to RBG, you know, fam. Now this Cheeto monster in charge, this orange in chief, let's say, the great big orange wants to appoint yet another judge. This will be what, the third or something on the justice seats. He wants to replace her with Judge Amy Coney Barrett. And I said her full name so that you can go and do your research. Or just Google Trump's replacement judge, whatever. And, listen, like, I'm sure, you know, it's possible that maybe she's being misrepresented, and I'll offer some grace on that. However, from the research that I've done, did a little research and kind of little background snooping. I was like, who is this woman that he's trying to get on this seat to replace RBG? Okay. If you have watched this show, The Handmaid's Tale, you know how, honestly, it was mostly our dominant culture folks, women especially, who were like shocked and traumatized and like, I can't believe that this could be a reality. Well, this judge is giving me very strong vibes of the precursor to that kind of world. And that concerns me. And it ought to concern you if you care about the well-being of the women around you in your world. It should concern you. And again, for me, I'm like, I have no problem if somebody says, I personally love children. I love the ability to give life and bring life. I love that. And for me, even me personally, I have my own personal views about, reproductive, health and reproductive rights. But at the end of the day, the level of eek I get when I read about this woman's track record and tendencies. Yeah. Handmaid's Tale could definitely be a reality. Y'all thought it was scary as a show? That ish would be scarier as a life. Which kind of was like made sense. Haha now. Have any of y'all been getting these ads for, move to Canada? Listen, I know a lot of people have been joking about that, but fam, sounding a little familiar, isn't it? Speaking of fertility and women's right to bear children or not, because again, there are those women who genuinely that's not their desire. And I do not believe that me, even as a woman, as a womb carrying person, I do not think I don't want to require them to ever have to do something that goes against their own desires and autonomy for their lives and their bodies. Yeah, so speaking of fertility, if anything, I feel like that needs to be a conversation that we are having more often and more candidly, especially when it comes to the status of one's fertility for both men and women, right? Because it's not always the woman's fault, or it's not always the woman who is the reason why folks may be having difficulty conceiving. Because we're seeing a lot more people nowadays with this issue. People are finding it harder to have kids sometimes, and so whether it's the man or whether it's the women, I wish it was like a more proactive thing, because people it's more of a reactive at the moment. It's like people wait until they're having trouble, whereas I feel like the same way we screen for precancerous cells, the way we screen for diseases, when women have to go in for these routine checkups, I feel like it should be like one of those things that like you check after a certain age. The way we do mammograms for women over a certain age to check out for those breast cancer cells, why don't they check for fertility? But I believe there was one of those at-home testing kits that I was getting a whole bunch of those ads when I was Googling this stuff. But yeah. And it needs to be more affordable, make it more accessible and affordable for people to know their fertility status. If we really care about people, wanting to have children, all that jazz. Any hoozle. Such is life. So she's life. Yeah. So yeah, that's that, man. I'm not gonna belabor the point. Yeah, so that was our discussion for today. We went through the Great Hearts Charter School that doesn't really seem to have a heart. That's the San Antonio branch. We went through all the problematic people, ideologies who are like, I don't see color, I don't believe in color, all that jazz. I'm like, you can definitely see the traffic lights, can't you? We could definitely see traffic lights. Yeah. And PSA, Black Lives Matter, it is not a political statement. It is not. It is a human right. And if you think it is a political statement, then it definitely should be. The discussion around it should definitely be in the academic environment. Because that's what we teach. We teach students about politics and policies and why and the history of people and why things are the way they are. Even though a lot goes missing in the academic environment, that's neither here nor there. Which is why it's like the onus is on us, as parents, as the community. It's like you can't rely on these academic institutions to truly teach the full history of who you are as a people. Yeah, it's like you have to be more proactive so that your children or that you yourself learn and educate yourself. For me, honestly, my journey into all this knowledge, it was not in academia. I've had a very amazing academic experience, a very expensive one, but it did not teach me a lick about the realities of these complex historical movements, not only here in America, but even back home in Africa and Kenya. Yeah, that's the sad reality. That is the reality of what things are, how they are. So it's like it's up to you, the individual, to literally be proactive, be the one going out there to intentionally educate yourself, to intentionally be the one bridging those gaps for yourselves and for your community. So happy reading and happy Googling, happy researching. And you should be glad you have Google nowadays because it's right at your fingertips. Look it up. There's so many resources out there. So many. If it's something you're interested in learning, the resources are there. Keep coming to my Buta stools. Keep coming to my weekends with Winnie. Oh, you're gonna learn something. At the very least, you're gonna learn about, a couple words in Swa when we're done with it. Yay. Yeah. But, either who, I wish y'all well. You, my readers, my viewers, my listeners. I do wish y'all peace. I wish you health. I wish you happiness. I wish you joy. I wish you love. And I hope that you stay encouraged along your respective journeys, along your journey, wherever that path looks like, however it unfolds. I wish you joy and I wish you great love, and be encouraged in all you do. Okay? Thank you for joining my Wuta stool today. And stay connected. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you on the next Wuta stool Saturday on my weekends with Winnie O. Ciao, family. Hey.